Alright guys, what's going on? This is going to be a little bit of different video. I actually tried to film this on my cell phone and just post it to Facebook, but I got a feeling it ran too long, and I got to film with the big camera now, so it's going to be much easier. I don't even know if you can put a video this long on Facebook, but this video is about a survey that I believe the DNR put out on Chippewa Flowage fishing. Now, if this doesn't pertain to you, you can just click off or not watch this video, but the Chippewa Flowage is a large destination-y lake in the Hayward area here that I kind of grew up fished for a long time, used to fish pretty much every day of the year. And the survey kind of pertains to walleye fishing. Now the walleye fishing's been all up and down, a whole bunch of regulation changes. I'll kind of talk about a lot of this as we start kind of answering some of these questions. But yeah, the survey that's put out, if you guys want to see this survey, I don't know if you can find it on the DNR website or whatever, but Treelands Resort on Facebook shared the survey, and I thought the questions were kind of interesting, and I kind of want to elaborate on kind of what I think the larger problem is, and what we should do about it. And I want you guys to kind of drop a ton of comments. You know, if this is a lake that you guys fish quite a bit, or if you just have some opinions on size, regulation, stuff like that. So I'm going to click right into the survey here, and I think we're going to answer a lot of the questions and kind of what I think about them, like I said. So question number one, how satisfied have you been with walleye fishing on the Chippewa Flowage in the last 3 years? Now, this is kind of the broad entry question, right? So the issue with the Chippewa Flowage is rarely catching enough walleyes to be satisfied, right? The primary issue on the Flowage is normally that the walleyes run very small. Now, I don't know, you know, in the 80s if this was the case, but I know there was like a great kind of decline in the number of walleyes. Somewhere around the 90s is what I want to say. So it used to be 5 fish, no size limit was what you could keep. Then I went to 3 fish, no size limit. And like 3 years ago, I believe, 4 years ago maybe, it went to what a lot of the state is in northern Wisconsin, which is 3 fish, 15 to 20 inches long, nothing between 20 and 24, and you're 1 over. So a 3 fish bag, nothing under 15 basically, which is pretty common for up here. And that's when guys quit, they couldn't keep any more 14-inch walleyes, which was going on the Flowage for a very long time. So the average day of walleye fishing, I have no problem catching walleyes out there. I don't think I suck at fishing, or I don't think I know the Flowage good enough. It's catching quality fish between 15 and 20 inches long. So I'm gonna write that, you know, overall, I am relatively dissatisfied with just the quality of walleye fishing in the Chippewa Flowage. Is there certain times of the year where you make it look good? Yes, May, sometimes early June, end of the season, first ice. These times of year where walleyes are generally all in the same spot, which is generally relating to shallow water structure, especially the larger fish in a system. So when you have all the fish, the larger fish in the lake relating to the same piece of structure, it makes it pretty easy to go around and make walleye fishing look good. It makes the lake seem like it's very good. As far as quality of walleye goes. Then summer rolls around, these fish spread out, bigger fish tend to do a number of different things, and all of a sudden fishing gets very hard, and you start to catch a lot of these 14-inch fish, 12 to 14-inch walleyes, and a lot of days it's very hard for me even to catch a couple of fish over the 15-inch mark, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have that same problem. So overall, am I very satisfied, dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied? I would say overall, I am dissatisfied with the quality of walleye fishing in the Chippewa Flowage, just due to the fact that we don't catch any quality fish. And for the intents and purposes of this discussion, I'm going to call quality fish just anything 15 to 20, kind of your bread and butter keeper size walleyes that northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, guys come from everywhere to catch these fish, right? So question number 2. What would be your top complaint about walleye fishing on the Chippewa Flowage over the last 3 years? I don't even have to read the questions to know what my response would be. It's not catching a lot of walleyes, it's catching quality sized fish, 15 to 20 inches. So the answers to this are kind of interesting. Is it not catching enough walleye? No. Is it not catching trophy walleye? I'm calling a trophy walleye 25 and up. You know, kind of when you start hitting that 25-inch and up in northern Wisconsin, that's a really nice walleye for up here. We don't see a lot of 30-inch walleyes in Hayward, so 30 inches is just far and away. We're never going to catch those fish, really. Answer 3, not being able to harvest as many walleyes as you like. I'm not a catch and keep fisherman. I spend a ton of time on Mille Lacs where I never keep a fish. A lot of times you can't even keep a fish there. There's still a lot of guys that go there and walleye fish. So not being able to keep fish is not at all my answer. Is number 4 here, not being able to fish for walleyes in the winter. That is an issue. I think that regulations should be set for guys to go fish. You know, we want people to go fish. Do we want everybody to keep a ton of fish? No, that's never the goal, right? If a lake allows for that, like Red Lake, some of these big fisheries where guys can keep 5 walleyes a day, great. You know, if the lake allows for that, let them keep it. right? But that's not an issue for me because I don't really care about keeping fish, and rarely do I keep walleyes. So number 4 here is conflicts with other anglers in the flowage. Not at all. So the number one dissatisfaction that we all probably have with the flowage is not catching a lot of quality fish, 15 to 20 inches, which is not at all an answer here. So I'm gonna say overall, not catching trophy walleye, right? Because that is the only kind of most suitable answer. It's not catching a lot of quality fish here. Question number 3, how many walleyes would you estimate you caught per angler in an average day of walleye fishing in the Chippewa Flowage in the last 3 years? Now, there's some days where you don't catch a lot, and there's some days where you catch a lot. But overall, I'm saying catching 20 fish a day is pretty normal, right? Which catching 20 walleyes a day isn't really a bad day anywhere. That's a decent day of fishing, right? There's a lot of days we catch a lot more than that. There's a lot of days we catch less than that. But I'd say that 20 fish mark is fine. Now, whether I'm fishing the Chippewa Flowage or other lakes in my area or some of the bigger, really good walleye lakes around here, there's nothing to complain about a 20 walleye day. The issue is here that a lot of those fish are under the 15-inch size range. So I'm going to set this just at 20 fish here. You guys set it at whatever you want. Question number 4. Several walleye regulations that are being considered will lead to more harvest of walleye, but could lead to lower abundance of walleye in the long run. Which answer best describes your opinion about that scenario? So, are we okay with catching basically less walleye due to being able to harvest more, right? No, I don't really want to catch less walleye, right? I want to be catching, you know, the second I start getting down into like we're looking to go out all day and try to catch 6 walleyes, you know, I'm out. Especially because the flowage is never going to produce a lot of fish, 25 to 30. Which, you know, if you're going out to get a few bites a day, you're looking for big bites, right? I don't want to go out all day and struggle to catch, you know, 6, 14 to 17 inches. I just don't want to do that. So no, I'm not okay with this, right? Which is basically going to be my answer. There's a whole bunch of other kind of answers there, but that's what I'm going with. So if you catch a walleye, question number 5, if you catch a walleye between 20 and 24 inches in length on the Chippewa Flowage, how important is it to you that you have the option to harvest that, right? So I never want to keep those fish 20 to 24. There's always kind of that, a lot of times that rule in place where if the little kid catches, or if anybody catches a 29-inch walleye, they have the option to keep it. I would never keep it. I'd get a replica, you know, if a guy wanted to mount a fish, which is the only real reason why I can see you'd ever keep a fish of that size. So that's not really an issue to me at all. Maybe to some of you guys want to keep 20 to 24-inch walleyes, but really most of the lakes that you're going to fish for walleyes, they have some kind of upper end restriction. You know, kind of our standard one we've had in the Hayward area for a while on a lot of our lakes in northern Wisconsin. You can keep 15 to 20-inch fish, nothing between 20 and 24, which is what the flowage is now. So it's not important to me at all that I keep fish in that range. So I'm going to answer that way. What is this, number 7 here, what is the smallest walleye in inches you would consider keeping on the Chippewa Flowage, assuming fish of any size were legal, right? So this kind of brings us back to the rule that used to be in place, where there was, first it was 5 fish no size, then it was 3 fish no size, then it went to the 15 to 20 inch are the only ones you can keep, right? So I mean, just looking at how valuable is a 12-inch walleye to you? If you catch a 12-inch walleye, are you going to keep it? There's no way I'm keeping a 12-inch walleye. You know, there's some stocky 14 inches out there that might be worth keeping. You know, I think there's quite a few lakes in the area you can keep, not in our area, but I think there's quite a few lakes, you know, kind of around the walleye world where you can keep, you know, 14-inch fish, and that's kind of the bottom line to me, right? This scale goes from 8 to 18, which I think is fair. So I'm going to set this at 14 as the smallest walleye I ever keep, and I don't really see a problem keeping a 14-inch walleye, or several of them, basically, you know, to make a meal out of them. Question number 8, how satisfied have you been with panfish on the Chippewa Flowage over the last 3 years? So I think the Chippewa Flowage is a great pan fishery. I don't even know there was a panfish question in here. You know, you don't see a lot of big bluegills or real big crappies in there, but it's a great numbers fishery for bluegills and crappies. It's a great lake to go to get an eater basket of fish. So I'll write satisfied for that, neither very satisfied or dissatisfied. What is the lowest panfish, question number 9, what is the lowest panfish bag limit that you would personally consider to be acceptable in the Chippewa Flowage? I'm going to write, I think 10 is a fair number. I would love to see it go to a minimum, somewhere between 10 and 15 fish. 25 fish is a lot. I think 20 fish is a lot. I think 15 fish is still kind of a lot. I think 10 fish is a very fair panfish bag. Put it this way. If you've ever kept 10 panfish and cleaned them, you cannot sit down and eat 10 panfish. That is 20 fillets of fish, right? Unless you're keeping 6 inchers. But most of us are keeping crappies. We're looking at 9.5 to 11 inch fish or 12 inch fish. It's kind of what most guys would probably call keeper size fish, right? That's just a lot of fish. So even if I were to keep 5 bluegills or 5 crappies, right? That's 10 fillets. That is more than enough to feed me, right? So I get it that the guy goes out and he wants to bring back a bunch of fish to feed his 6-person family. I totally understand that. But, you know, even at 5 fish, get your family out there, get your kids out there, and if you guys keep 20 fish total, you got plenty for a fish fry. So I think somewhere between 5 and 10, I'll be a little bit generous by answering 10 fish here. Next question. Which of these is best describes your experience with the pike improvement project on the Chippewa Flowage? Now, I think this is the first year they've done this, but the past year they basically put a bounty on pike. Keep like, I want to say the limit is 5 per person, no size limit, which is great. I think the flowage is way too infested with small pike. You know, I love pike when they're about 33, 35 inches long, the fun ones, right? But it sucks when there's just 1,017 inches in the lake, which is kind of the point where the lake's gotten to. Do you see quality pike in the Chippewa Flowage? Yes. Do you see a lot of quality pike in the Chippewa Flowage? Not so much. Is there an overabundance of small pike? Yes. Now, the lakes that you commonly see a lot of big pike on are very different than the lakes that you see a lot of just numbers of pike on, right? The flowage is typically the kind of body of water where you see a lot of pike. It's shallow, it's got a lot of bays, it's very much panfish based forage, and that is, you know, a lot of these smaller flowagey lakes, a lot of these smaller shallow lakes fit that same characteristic. The lakes that produce big pike consistently on the average, where you don't run into a lot of these 17-inch fish, almost always have the same characteristics. They're deep, they're clear, they have ciscos in them, they have whitefish in them, they have big forage that grows big fish. These are the same lakes that I like to fish 99% of the time when I'm in this area, because they grow big walleyes, they grow big muskies on the average, they grow big smallmouth, they grow everything big, including pike. So the flowage is never going to fit that description as having that kind of big time bait, but you got to do something about the number of pike, whether it's cut those numbers down in order for muskie to get better, say quit eating walleye fry. I don't know much about the scientifics of that. All I know is that what I see in the water. So I don't think the flowage is ever going to be a great destination to just go out and target a 35-inch pike. But I don't think there's any problem with knocking down the pike numbers for sure. So these answers are kind of, I was not aware of the pike project. Yes, I did know about it. I was aware of the pike project, but not to participate. I didn't participate, but I kept a lot of pike on the flowage. So I guess I kind of participated. So yeah, we'll just answer that. So that's kind of the end of the questions. I guess it was a 10-question survey. I didn't know it was going to talk about anything other than walleyes, but I'm going to kind of talk about what I would like to see done in the flowage, primarily pertaining to walleyes, because let's face it, we used to see, probably a long time ago, we used to see a lot of guys muskie fishing. It was a muskie fishing place to be, right? Muskie fishing capital of the world, which is great. You don't see a lot of guys muskie fishing right now. Is there still good muskie fishing to be had on the Chippewa Flowage? Yes. Is it leaps and bounds better than anything else in the area? Absolutely not. Right? There's nothing in my mind that makes the Chippewa Flowage a better muskie fishery than anything around here. It's a great lake for an average size. I'd say you catch a lot of fish, like 40 to 44 out there, which is the same thing with a lot of lakes in our area. The Chippewa Flowage, as far as mapping muskie numbers goes, is on the little bit lower end as far as density goes, which is a lot of what you see on a lake that kind of averages that higher size. Is the top end spectacular? No. Normally I get a shot at like 1 or 2 50-inch class of fish a year, which is kind of alright for northern Wisconsin, but there are lakes in the area you can go to where 50-inch fish are more common. So yeah, I forget, and I'm off on a rant here. We're talking about walleye fishing here. So walleye is the bread and butter, right? Walleye is how you get people to come to the Chippewa Flowage for fishing, not just for pleasure boating. You know, there's always the panfish. You're always going to see the pontoons in the bays with 15 bobbers out, wife, kids, everybody bobber fishing. But the walleyes are really the bread and butter of northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, right? So how do you improve walleye fishing on the flowage? That's where this is all going. And, you know, a lot of that I think has to do with size limits. I'm not going to get crazy into like the scientifics or how quickly fish grow or stuff like that. But the limit that's in place right now is a 15 to 20 inch size limit. They wanted to make the Chippewa Flowage better for catching quality fish, which is 15 to 20 inch fish, right? The issue with that is when we catch so few 15 to 20 inch fish for a lot of the season, how many guys are letting a 15.5 inch walleye go? Probably very, very few. You know, let's say I'm out on a trip and you know, we're catching 20 walleyes so far. They're all 12 to 14 inches, and someone catches a 16. Are they going to want to keep that? Guarantee you they want to keep that fish for the most part, right? And the average Joe out there fishing, if he catches 10 short ones in a week and then catches a 16 incher, it's going in the box, more likely than not. It's just the reality of fishing, of really walleye fishing, which is historically the fish that's kept for harvest, right? So the issue with the 15-20 inch size limit is we're not letting any fish really get bigger than 15 for the most part, right? And that's a big time problem, right? So there's a couple of things you can do, right? The first one is obviously to turn it over to kind of back to what it was, which is, I think, is a step in the right direction. I think it's better than the limit that's in place now, which the most recent limit I think was 3 fish, no size limit, right? At least at that point, a guy can go out and be satisfied with catching a couple of walleyes to eat, right? Now, should you be able to go out and just keep 5 fish under 14? I think 5 walleyes is a lot for what an inland lake in northern Wisconsin can handle of this size. So, you know, I think that's a decent option there, but I don't think it's the best option. Now, there's some other lakes in northern Wisconsin, like Grindstone Lake, which is, you know, right down the road from the Chippewa Flowage. It's a 3,000 acre lake. It's a deep, clear lake, and it is loaded with walleyes. It's loaded with walleyes, a lot of fish that are like 16 to 18 inches, 15 to 20 inches, right in there, you know, whatever you want to call it. That size fish is extremely, extremely common in that lake, which is great, right? Everybody, that's the bread and butter walleye. Nobody's going to complain about catching 20 fish a day if they're 15 to 20 inches long. That's great. But that lake has a size restriction, and I think they might have just changed it from 3 fish to 2 fish. But basically the premise was you couldn't keep anything between 14 and 18. It used to be a 3 fish limit where only one may be over 18. So you can keep 3 14 inchers, or you can keep 2 14 inchers and 18 and a half incher, right? So it lets a lot of fish get to that quality size, which I'm assuming the intent would be to eventually change that back over to something like a 15 to 20 inch keep with, you know, your 1 over 24, which doesn't really matter because we don't keep those, right? Is what I would assume the intent is there. So if they turn the flowage back to some kind of regulation like that, where you can keep a couple of fish that are under, you know, 14 inches, or let's just say under 15 inches, and once those fish hit 15, they can keep going. They can at least get to 18 before they get kept again, right? I think this is a great option for the Chippewa Flowage. It still lets guys harvest a few walleyes if they need be, which is a big reason I think a lot of guys don't come to the Chippewa Flowage, or will slowly start to not come here if this continues to be the case. But if you can keep a couple of fish, like let's say, I think ideally you're talking like, let's just call it a 3 fish limit. You keep 2 fish that are under 15 inches. You keep a couple of those small 14-inch males that you're catching. Now, the first walleyes to get to 15 or 16 are always females because they grow a little bit quicker and they get a little bit longer. So a lot of these first batches of fish that guys start catching at 15, 16 inches are the first females in the lake, which I think is another issue. So it lets guys keep a couple of those short males when they come up for a fish fry, right? Which I think is fine. It lets fish, once they hit 15, to get, you know, to kind of grow and just live their lives in that 15 to 18 inch size limit. Then I think you allow that one oversized fish to kept, right? Which I don't want to put the number at 20, because if you can't keep an 18 incher, that means a guy's going to keep a 21 if he catches it, right? So I think you try to put that number at like 18 inches long. I think it's the sweet spot, so a guy can keep an 18 to 20 inch walleye. So I think that would kind of be ideal. Now, our main egg laying fish, pretty much in every body of water, are 20 to 24 inches. So we really don't want to see a guy keeping a 20 to 24 incher either, right? So ideally, I guess you'd see a 3 fish limit. You'd see a 2 under 15 allowed to be kept. You'd see nothing 15 to 18. And then you could not keep a 20 to 24 as well. But you may keep one over that, either one over 24 or one in that 18 to 20 inch slots. Something like that is, I think, what would be ideal. But you guys let me know. I know this is kind of a long rant. I know there's a few panfish and pike questions in there which I don't really care about and weren't really important for this discussion. But let me know what you guys think. You know, that's kind of what I would like to see done. Punch some holes in my thought process if you can find any, or if you think something different. So let me know how important keeping walleyes is for you. I'll try to post this video. I'll throw a link of it on Facebook for sure, and then post the main video on YouTube. So thanks for watching. You know, if you don't care at all about the Chippewa Flowage and you watch this whole thing, you know, give me some thoughts on just what you guys would like to see size regulations wise. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on out there right now. With lakes like Mille Lacs, or you know, this instance with the Chippewa Flowage, or you know, management's an important thing. Keeps all of us out there fishing happy when it's done correctly. So let me know what you guys think. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.